Hello, my name is Hunter Stamps, and it's my honor to deliver this remembrance of Elmer Craig. Joe Molinaro, Professor Emeritus from Eastern Kentucky University, introduced me to Elmer 7 years ago when Elmer became a resident artist with Joe at EKU. Joe and Elmer would come up to the University of Kentucky often to visit during workshops and wood kiln firings. I immediately became enamored by Elmer's warm kindness, smile, and laugh. There was a certain sense of ease about him, combined with a sharp sense of humor and wit. I feel blessed to have known Elmer, and putting this presentation together has given me an even greater insight into Elmer's life, art, and contribution to our field, and everyone that was lucky enough to cross his path. Elmer's sister, Susie Childs, has traveled with us from Columbus, Ohio today to be with us. She was gracious enough to provide me with a little history which offers a glimpse into their background. Quote, "We came from a large family. Elmer was the fourth oldest of 7 children. Our father was a budding architect, but since there was little work during those war years, he made a living doing odd jobs. Due to the tragic death of our 3-month-old baby brother, who died from milk that had spoiled from being on the grocer's shelf too long during the war, he also became an activist, using some of his hard-earned money to travel to Indianapolis to appeal to the legislature to initiate dating canned goods. So this type of infant death would never happen again to another family. His days of walking those hollowed halls produced nothing but ridicule and personal torment, and taunts for him to cease and desist. Elmer was 14 at this time and understood the trauma of those days much beyond his years. Something he never talked about, but I feel made an impression on him how he would treat others from then on. In the same year our infant brother died, our father died of a sudden heart attack in his sleep. Mother, age 44, was left with 6 children. Elmer carried papers and worked regularly after school and weekends at the corner filling station. A Social Security check of $13.33 for our family of 7 was a monthly event. Each family member put their weekly income on the kitchen table in order to move back into the family home and adjust to being a single-parent family. Mother made all of our clothes, even the boys' suits and dress shirts, and an Easter dress for herself from the lining of her coat. As adults, we would all laugh and say we didn't realize we were poor. We stuck together like glue and supported one another no matter what. School was not always high on Elmer's list of happy things to do. Working and bringing home money to help the family became his youthful focus, along with cars, hot rods, and driving without a license, only because Grandpa's '39 Ford was our only mode of transportation. And God knows, women didn't drive. I think he knew every back road in town. Elmer's being in the Army during the Korean War and joining the Army band was another change maker. He never saw active duty, but spent time abroad studying the flute and piccolo, spending time in museums, and traveling to historic places. Interacting with locals and hearing folklore broadened his perspective for life. From what I know from Joe and others with whom dear Elmer taught, he was a magnificent teacher, not only for his experience in the field of ceramics, but for his ability to relate and listen to his students and put himself in their shoes. He fathered many students, being sensitive to guide, direct, and care and motivate, usually adding a dash of levity to a conversation. He remained special, writing weekly letters and ultimately phone calls to his mother, who died at 98. His support of all his siblings, children, and grandchildren reflects his dedication to and love of staying connected, something important not only for family but friends, including his Fulbright and Potter colleagues. Elmer's studio practice ranged from finely crafted traditional vessel making to quirky slipcast gestures to his politically charged cuneiform series. Elmer, like his sister Susie, carried on his father's spirit of political activism in his professional career. Elmer held deep political convictions that he articulated with directness in his work. The ancient Sumerian cuneiform writing systems, one of the oldest forms of communication, was distinguished by wedge-shaped marks on clay tablets. Cuneiform began as a system of pictograms and evolved including both alphabetic and symbolic signs. He created a series of work during the Bush era that addressed all kinds of topics. It was especially fitting for Elmer to select one of the oldest forms of communication originating in the Middle East to address issues during the Iraqi War. such as accusations that Halliburton was serving our troops water contaminated by sewage in the Middle East. His work also dealt with issues of sexuality, such as the bathroom disorderly conduct controversy of Idaho Republican Senator Larry Craig. One especially humorous piece dealt with the impromptu back rub that President Bush gave German Chancellor Angela Merkel at the G8 summit in 2006. Elmer's piece features a quote by Larry Sabato, professor of politics at the University of Virginia, that reads, quote, "Almost any male alive today knows that you don't offer uninvited massages to any female, much less the Chancellor of Germany." Elmer brought to light current issues in a way that made people care. I can only imagine the work that Elmer would continue making today about our current administration. There sure is enough content available. Joe Molinaro and Elmer were best of friends, and I'm honored to close by reading the remembrance that Joe wrote for the NSECA Journal. Quote, "It doesn't seem fair, it never does, the death of a friend, family member, colleague, neighbor, no matter who it is in our lives. The loss is always felt hard and deep. So was the case with the loss of our dear friend Elmer Craig, who passed away in his sleep in Lexington, Kentucky, just 12 days shy of his 85th birthday in September of 2017. To say his passing is sad is indeed an understatement, because in Elmer's life, he embodied the essence of what it means to be a trusted friend, colleague, neighbor, husband, father, and overall quality human being. Elmer Craig, originally from Fort Wayne, Indiana, lived a life devoted to the arts, in particular the ceramic arts. After completing his BA from Ball State University and then an MA from Western Michigan University, he began a long teaching career that started in the high school ranks and ended at Miami-Dade College, North Campus, where he was professor of art for 27 years, during which time he also served as department chair. After retiring from a long career of teaching, Elmer, with his wife Jane, found themselves moving to Lexington, Kentucky, where Jane, a pediatrician, continued her work at the University of Kentucky School of Medicine. As luck would have it for both Elmer and myself, he was invited to serve as a resident ceramic artist in the Department of Art and Design at Eastern Kentucky University. For 7 years, we worked together in the ceramic area, furthering our long relationship as friends and colleagues in clay. While I was teaching in South Florida, I knew Elmer as both a colleague and a friend. However, it was this last 7 years in Kentucky that cemented my understanding and appreciation of him, not only as a person with great artistic skills, but also a truly effective educator and communicator. Although upon his arrival, I had already been teaching for over 25 years, my last 7 years in the classroom with Elmer at my side taught me more than I could ever have imagined. His daily interactions with students, his sensitivity to their needs, his willingness to extend himself beyond what is expected, his gentle nature and warm smile always made everyone around him feel comfortable and secure. He never imposed himself on others and quietly worked himself into our lives in ways that allowed us to realize he was far more than a teacher. Elmer was not only my friend, he had both become the friends of both students and colleagues. He was respected, loved, and cherished by everyone whose lives he touched. And while his passing will be felt long into the future, the memories we all share of our association with him will live longer than the pain of experiencing his loss. Lastly, I would be remiss not to mention Elmer's love for all things education, which includes international travel experiences. He was the recipient of a Fulbright teaching exchange in England and also worked on projects in China and Guatemala. Workshops and lecture opportunities he gladly attended, and most importantly in NSECA, where he established the Retired Professor Award for the annual National Jury Student Exhibition. He was devoted to the NSECA family and its efforts to promote educational opportunities to young students entering the field. His continued attendance and participation with the yearly conference long after he retired confirmed his devotion and sense of responsibility to his own continued education, as well as his support for NSECA. To this end, I would like to make a special appeal to anyone who knew Elmer and loved him as we do. I encourage you to make a donation to NSECA in his name to the Fund for Artistic Development. This is something that I'm certain Elmer would have embraced, especially realizing how it further supports his love for education and our next generation of ceramic artists. His legacy of helping others is something we all want to preserve, both in his name and through our love for someone who left an indelible impression on everyone he knew. Elmer Craig, our dear friend and colleague in clay, will most definitely be missed, but never forgotten. Thank you.